Interest rates are going up. Trying to get ahead is mighty, mighty tough. Bill collectors at my door. I need someone to help me raise my credit score.
Welcome back to another edition of the Polto Show. This show is going to be a little bit more unique what we were supposed to have. We were supposed to have Valerie Morrison on talking about heaven, but because of the weather, she cannot come on. But I decided I'm not going to stop the show. Years ago, when I had a show in New York with Matt Lowry, the station would say, you know, Pearl, I don't care how you get here, but get here. The show must go on. And I said today, you know what? If I have to do whatever I have to do to get to this show, to bring a show to you, I will. But today's show is going to become a little bit special. And a couple people emailed me and talked to me about the show I was having tonight. So I decided to keep that same show on. And the show is about psychics. One, are you a psychic? Yeah, I'm asking you, are you a psychic? Can you see the future? Do you have odd experiences only a certain fraction of the people have? Are you too embarrassed to tell other people? You know, 75% of the population has psychic abilities. And according to the recent polls, these same polls, many people have intuitions. Are you a psychic? Well, we're going to find out. Many people tell me that I have been a psychic. I don't know I'm a true psychic, and I never admit it, but I do see things that I could see, and I'm pretty strong with it. The many psychics that you go to and pay to, you know, they sit there and sometimes they say they're 70% right, 80% right, and 90% right. I don't tell a person if I don't see something more accurate. So they say what I see, I could be 100%, but I don't call myself a psychic. I firmly believe that every person out there who was born in the physical world has a strong intuition. And physical abilities are woven into their DNAs. Who out there has psychic experiences? And let's look at the common things that we've all heard of. Telepathical. Now, you ought to know, has your phone ever rang and you know who was calling before you even picked the phone up? Does that mean you're a psychic? No, it's intuition. Have you ever worn the same color shirt as a friend that you were meeting later on that evening? Does that say you're a psychic? Have you ever said the same thing at the same time with another person? Do you just know what your baby or your pet needs despite they can't talk? Have you ever thought of a friend and they called you while or shortly after you were thinking of them? That happens to me all the time. Likewise, have you ever called a friend only to hear, I was just thinking about you? Well, that happens to me all the time. Have you ever wanted something to drink and while thinking about it, shortly after a friend brings you in that quench of thirst, and you said, how did you know? Did you ever know what mood a person is going to be in even before you encountered them? Do you ever get sad when they just instantly, you calm somebody down and they feel safe around you? Do you hate crowds, graveyards, even hospitals because the feeling you get around them? Well, I have never understood this, but after doing some homework on psychics and intuition, your ability is at work in these cases, and your ability is like a receptive. You're like a radio channel, and you're able to take a mood that's coming out. Have you ever had a dream that came true? And some people believe in dreams. They say this is the mirror of our soul. Have you ever seen a vision that turned out to be real? Do you see dead people? Crazy enough as it seems, some people do. Do you see an aura around people? And you're saying, what am I seeing around this person? Look what I'm seeing, gold, blue. What does this mean when I see things around people? They're mostly all forms of clairvoyant. Recognition means the fact. You know, I did study on this because after some said, you know, that I was a little psychic myself. Have you ever heard somebody call your name and then you turned around, there was no one there? Have you ever discussed with a person that crossed over, even heard the voice of that person? Have you ever laid in bed at night? Quietly sounded to many people. Well, the reason why I'm saying all this is because my guest that were supposed to be on the night and in a future date, but one of them lost his wife. And his wife was obsessed with wolves, dog wolves. And when I went over to see him for this show, and he lives all the way in Bluebell, 20 miles away, so because of the snow that we're supposed to get here in the Philadelphia area, I told him not to come. And the crazy part is, it's interesting because when I went to his house to see him, there was wolves all over the place. And I said to him, I'd like to take a picture of the bed that your wife died in. I don't know why I even said it, but I said it. And I said to him, I'm not just a credit expert and an author, and I can go on and on and on, but some say I have the gift and the ability of a psychic as well. Not that I say I am, because to me, I have it every now and then, as you may have it every now and then. And you have to practice it. And you may have it, and you're practicing it, and you don't even know. So I took a picture of this bed. And after I went back, I developed this picture. And this picture, I called him back, and I said, I got to ask you a couple questions. On this bed, what's on the right side above the bed? He said, a picture, my niece, a picture of this. I said, what's on the left side of the bed? He said, nothing. I said, well, there is. No, I was supposed to show him this picture today, and it was a picture on the top of the bed of a wolf that his wife was obsessed with. Now, his wife died of cancer weeks ago, and as I said, he's saying to me, she's coming back to me, Pearl, am I going nuts? And I'm saying, no, you're not going nuts. What's happening? And he said, every time I go to the cemetery to see her, and I see wolves, I come home, and there's images of wolves. And it's to the point where I think I'm going nuts. I said, no, you're not going nuts. Your wife wants you to know you are around. And if you are around, then I'm supposed to have another guest on the show. Now, we'll have these people on in the future, but I have to let you know. As I was telling another person about the show I was going to have tonight, he said, I feel comfortable with you telling you this. I feel strange because when I was a little kid, my mom died, and I went into a supermarket and I seen my mom, and I went up to her, and she thought I looked at her and I said, hello, and she said, don't touch me. And I said, why did she say don't touch me? He said, I don't know, but I got scared and I ran. I was only like 5 years old. Then he went again to the same supermarket. The same woman was there. And he went up to her and he said, I felt more comfortable now. And I said, hi, Mom. And she said, how are you doing, my child? And it freaked him out where he wasn't scared anymore. But then the woman disappeared. Then his father-in-law passed away that lived in the same house as this person. Now, all these paranormals in the night, you may not want to believe them, but it may happen to you, or you may say, hey, I'm familiar with this, but people will think I'm nuts. Well, you know what? I'm going to say it like it is, because he sees this image of his father-in-law coming up and down the steps where his father-in-law lived, in the basement. He said, and I see a shadow, but I'm afraid to tell my wife because I don't know what to do. And then I had another woman called me. She said, I lost my son. And we cremated him. And I put it in the closet. He wanted me to put his ashes on the ocean. And I never did this. I never put his ashes in the ocean. And every time in the middle of the night when I walked to go to the bathroom, I'd be kicked. And I would tell my husband, I'm getting tricked. And he said, you're going nuts. She said, Pearl, I wasn't going nuts. And then I decided to take his ashes and throw it over the ocean. And she did, and it didn't happen again. Now, to me personally, all these things are happening, and all these people are contacting me of their experiences. And I said, this should be really, the people are blessed when this happens too. And I think I was personally blessed. I was personally blessed because I myself experienced something, and I think I freaked out myself. And yet, even though I know I got a little bit of psychic, I freaked out. I went out to the store. Now, my parents passed away. I went out to the store and I seen this gentleman, and I stared and stared and stared at him. And I went over to him and I said, I apologize for staring at you, but you look like my father. I said, you look like my father. I said, What's your name? He said, my name is Joe. I said, that was my father's name. When's your birthday? He said, my birthday is November 23rd. I said, that's my father's birthday. I said, don't tell me, are you married? He said, my wife passed away last year. I said, well, don't tell me your wife's name. He said, no, my wife's name was Marion, but they called her Marie. I said, my mother's name was Mary, and they called her Marie. Are you sure you're not an angel? And he said, no, but you're giving me the chills. I said, well, and he looked at me and he said, you do have my features. And I thought, why is this guy appearing to me? Why is he protecting me? And that was the day before we had the hurricane. And my lights didn't go out, everything, no trees went down. And I still believe he came to me with a message, that he was watching over me. And then I talked to another person and I told him this situation that happened to. And this girl was born and raised in Puerto Rico. And she said, something happened to me, but I'm afraid to tell people. And I said, why are you afraid to tell people? She said, because they're going to think I'm nuts. I said, you know what? Always put in the back of your head, I have nothing to lose, as I do. I mean, I'm a little psychic, but, I'm not going to tell your future. Because if I did tell your future, I wouldn't charge you because I wouldn't know. But if it happened, like auras around people. But here's a person, she said, when I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. And she said, and the Blessed Mother appeared in front of everybody at times, and they would gather around trees. She said, and my parents went to this one tree in Puerto Rico, and we looked up, and the Blessed Mother was there. While she was telling me this, she started crying. Tears were coming down her face, and I said, why are tears coming down your face? She said, because I was scared with this beautiful woman standing in front of me, and I was only 5 years old. I said, and what happened? She said, then she disappeared, and all the parents put all the children in the front so they could be blessed. I said, why didn't you tell anybody this? She said, because they would put me away in a nut house. It's pretty sad where some people are blessed. Angels are not glorified human beings, as we know, but we always say, there's angels out there. And how do they originate? Do angels have bodies? Do angels compare to human beings? Many of us have the experience. So what do? We go to mediums, we go to psychics, we have our cards read. We do everything for that hope of contacting the people on the other side. All we need is our eyesight and our heart to know their spirit is around us 100%. There was last week when we had the storm. As many know from my Facebook and everything else, that I did lose my best friend, Dolores. And I talked to her cousin, and she had a house right on Sea Isle, right on the beach. And I thought, I know Dolores is around her, as Dolores is around me. And I had to call her, and I said, how was your home? She said, it was okay. Lights didn't even go out. I said, Dolores was watching over you, and I know it. But some people believe it, and some people will say, they're going crazy. And some people goes to psychics, some people goes to mediums. Now, we know that the new show that's out there, Long Island Medium, we see that's going out there. We see John Edwards out there, and we see, and many of them are friends of mine. And we want that hope. We want that hope because some of them are psychically gifted. And is everybody a psychic? No. You have to be gifted to the point where you're blessed. And I knew I was a little psychic years ago. And how I knew I was a little psychic, and I never presented this to people, and I didn't think I was going to present it today. But years ago, we would play a card game with my family and my father and my mother. We'd play cards. And all the Italians would get together with the, raviolis, the lasagna. And all of a sudden, we would play poker. And my father would say, you're all going to lose. And I would look at him right in the eyes and I would say, the next 3 hands, I'm going to win, without even looking at my cards. Now, I was only a teenager. And the next 3 hands, I won. And I did not look at my cards. And he looked at me. He knew something was going on. But he didn't want to recognize it, that something was wrong with, something was going on. And after the 3rd round, naturally I lost. but I knew it. And then years later, this could be happening to you. Don't think you're going nuts. Don't think when you see on the side of your face, you see a figure, or don't think things happen to you that you say, I feel my loved one. I know he's around me. I know she's around me. Well, then they are. If you feel it, they are. You're not going nuts. God creates miracles on this earth, but he doesn't like evil. As I always put, he doesn't like evil, but he gives people certain gifts. And a lot of people have these gifts. They don't want to practice it. I have no idea. If I was a true medium, the whole world would know it. And I would go here to California to say, you know what? I'm going to tell you something for caution to show you what it's all about. I think it's time that we have to look at ourselves. We had an election coming up. Many psychics out there predicted who was going to win. And many said, we're in a world of evil. We're in a world of hope. And many people out there have diseases, and many people can see the future. And if you think, I'm not telling you to charge people because you think you can, if the phone rings, but try it out. Try it out and get back to me. Email me to say, you know what, I listened to you, and when my phone rang, I wanted to see if I could see who it was before I picked it up. And if you're right, start marking it down. Or if your parents or your loved ones passed away, and you hear a little voice in your head, and that voice says, hey, like 2 days before this storm that Philadelphia is supposed to be having. Now, 2 days ago, what I did, I have no idea. I went out and got rock salt. And I'll never forget, the person at Home Depot said, we just got over a hurricane. Why are you buying rock salt? I said, I don't know, but I want to keep it. And now all of a sudden, the next day, I'm glad I have that rock salt. So my intuition kicked in. And if your intuition tells you right about a person or wrong about a person, then go with it. If your intuition goes when you walk into a bank, or you walk into a neighbor's house, or you walk into a friend's house, and you're leery, step back. Because your intuition is your psychic. Psychics call it psychic, but it's intuition. And the more you practice your intuition, the stronger it gets. Now, I'm on a mission too, because my mission is, I have an invention shortly that will be out. And I had this invention for 10 years, hidden in my place. And I wanted to bring it out. And I said, come on, where's it at? Now, how many times has this happened to you? Where's it at? And all of a sudden, it's right in front of your eyes. Why? It's meant to be. Why? Somebody from the other side is saying, hey, you know what? I want you to get this out now for the people. And I am. You'll hear about it. And a lot of people will say, that's hogwash. I don't believe any of this. And yet they go home at night and then they wonder why certain things happen to them. And they can't understand it. These are the people that don't want to admit. They think we live, we're born, we die, and life is over. It doesn't work this way. There's an afterlife. There's heaven. And how many times have you seen there's an afterlife? Our spirit just goes on and on. Our souls go on and on. We're just material things right now. And I love it when somebody comes back to say, I am here. Where are you? I'm here. Look at me. But we can't. So we go to mediums. My only downfall is some mediums out there charges thousands and thousands of dollars. I think it's wrong, because if they're blessed, I think God gave them this gift to help people, not to rip people off. And yet, there's so many. You see card readers, the doors, the stores. You see $10, walk in. Psychics walk in. And they know they're draining on people's hopes. They're draining on people's loved ones that passed away. Do I think it's wrong? Of course it's wrong. Do I think there's real ones out there? Of course there's real ones out there. But I always say, do your homework. as I always say, do your homework. You can call me. I'm not a psychic, and I'll tell you. I'm not a psychic, but I will tell you if I see something, and then I will say, sure to God, this is going to happen. Sure to God, just as I bought that rock salt for the snow. Why would I even buy it? But I did. It was my intuition kicking in again. And I pray to God at night at times, and I say, give me the strength. Give me the strength to see certain things, that I don't get scammed or ripped off, and I can educate the people. And I have that gift right now. God has given me that gift so you don't get ripped off or scammed. And many people, and it was interesting because when I went home a couple days ago and did the show last week, one of my neighbors came out and she had cancer. She's cancer-free right now, and her daughter's a school teacher. And she called me over and she said, I have to tell you something. We call you the mayor of Jean Street. And I said, the mayor of Jean Street? She said, because you know it all. You know it all. I said, I don't know it all. She said, but when we ask you something, if you didn't know it all, you find out for us, for the people. And she said, why don't you go in politics? I said, never, never, because I have to go by the party. And when you hear people saying this, it makes me a little bit stronger to do what I have to do for you, the people. And I want to make the Pearl Polto show so big, that the whole world is listening, because it's going to come across. It's going to come across to you. I'm going to have many topics on, many stars on, from here to California. Matter of fact, in a couple weeks, I can't wait. I'm having an icon on this show, and that is going to be Trudy Haynes. Trudy Haynes was in the Philadelphia area for over 60 years, and I've always been a guest on her show. Well, now she's going to be a guest on my show, but I have a little surprise for her when she comes as well. And she was so blessed because she said, you know, Pearl, look at how we reverse life. And I said, yes, now you're going to be my guest. So it's so strange, or it's so strange me sitting here. It's so strange me sitting here when all these years I was a guest on Irv Homer's show. And yet, now, Irv Homer's son, Ron Homer, is my producer. So all these, and who's making this happen? I know it's Irv. I know it's Irv. And I know he gets angry at times. I know he gets angry at times because he's saying, I didn't expect that. I wish I knew this. I wish I knew that. I would fight for this. I know he puts it through me. And yet, I say it like it is. And I'll continue to say it like it is. You either watch it or you don't watch it. But what I have to say to you is always going to be the complete truth, and I will say it like it is, if you like it or not like it. And of all these people that came to me that said, I think I'm psychic, but I don't know. But I don't want people to think I'm nuts. Well, I am telling you, I'm not nuts. And if I am, duh. But the thing is, if you feel you have some gifts given to you. Now, as I said earlier, of all calls I got last night, it was from a limousine driver that I had 20 years ago that drove me to New York. And one TV station contacted me and said, and it was 5 feet of snow. And they said, I don't care how you get here. You have to get here. So my limousine driver contacted me and I said, can your limousine make it in 5 feet of snow from Philly to New York? He said, we will make it happen, Pearl. I will make it happen for you. Because I believe in you and you have a good message to tell the people. He was also my friend, not just my limousine driver. And we drove on the expressway 2 miles an hour until we got to our destination. 2 miles an hour. And it was interesting because when I got there, they said to me, I knew of all the guests, you were going to show up. I knew it. Because when you say you're going to do something, you do it. And I was so blessed, but this same person calls me last night. I didn't talk to him, but he said, hi, it's from a stranger from the past. Remember me? Your limo. How are you doing? I need to talk to you. And I thought, oh my God, another snowstorm. And here we go again. But nothing stopped me. I don't care if it was limousine, cabs, neighbors, anything to teach the people. I will go from here to high waters. And this is maybe how I came this far, because nothing will stop me. And that's what they used to sing. Nothing will stop me now. And that's my song that they used to give me years ago. Nothing will stop her now. But it's not that I'm doing it to become a martyr. It's not that I'm doing it because, what I'm doing it because I think it's my time to let the people know what's going on out there, what's happening, and so you don't get ripped off, scammed, or to say, I think I am psychic. But I think I don't want people to know I'm going nuts. If you feel your loved ones beside you, they're there. If you hear your loved ones, they're there. If you have a dream, the dreams that you have sometimes are your loved ones because they know you're too afraid if they just appeared in front of you. I had a friend one time that said to me, I went to my sister's funeral and I seen my sister right on top of the coffin, but I was afraid to tell anyone. And I said, what was she doing? She said, she's just sitting there looking at everybody attended her funeral. So now when I go to a funeral, I always look around. I always look around to see if I could see something of somebody that is there, of a spirit, shadow, whatever, because that does happen. It does happen to a lot of people. It's not that we're all gifted, but intuition can get strong. And all you have to do is believe in yourself. And you don't need the mediums, and you don't need the mediums all over the place, even though they're good for you because they're your messenger. And I love them because they are your messenger. And you want to hear what they have to say to make you feel better. And sometimes all you have to do is meditate to say, God, is this right? And one person said, well, I say the rosary every night because the Blessed Mother, when you say a prayer to her, it's for peace. We need a lot of peace in this world right now. What's going on with the politics, with the storms? Why is this happening? It's happening for a reason. It's happening for a reason. I think too many people are looking at life in a wrong situation. And we're counting our apples. We're doing this, we're doing that, and there's a lot of evil going on today. The only way to correct it is to look at yourself in the mirror, to say, what am I doing that's good for the people? Am I complaining? Am I saying nasty things to people? Do I want attention? Why am I doing all this? And if it's all the wrong reasons, it's the wrong reasons. So take a look at yourself. Take a look at your family. Take a look at your friends. I always say God roots out people in my life that are evil. And I still say it. Why is God, all these people in my life and then out of my life? Because God is rooting them out. He's letting me open up my eyes to see. But he has blessed me unbelievable. He has blessed me to meet the right people, to educate the people. And he's put so many people in my life that I say, and they say to me, why were you put into my life all of a sudden? And I say to them, I don't know, but it's got to be for a reason. And we know that reason. So they come in your life, they may go in your life, but they're supposed to be in your life at that time. Does that make you psychic? No. But next time that phone rings, see if you're got that intuition gift. Say, that's Mary Sue. And if it is Mary Sue, continue doing it, because then maybe you could be the psychic of tomorrow. There's no angels out there that are glorified human beings, but I do believe angels are a company, not a race. And they do appear, and they do appear because they're out to help us. They're out to help us. And if you believe it or not, you've heard many sad, strange stories, people in accidents. And then all of a sudden something happened in their life where they got saved. You look at this and then you put it above your head as if nothing happening. And God is saying right now, open up your eyes, people. We are here. Look what the country's doing. Look what the banks are doing. Well, you know what? I'm in control. I am God. And you can't control the weather. And that's what he's telling the people in Washington. He can't control. Washington can't control the weather. God can. So he's letting you see. Did you get it yet? Are you getting this? And if the answer is no, we're going to continue with messages. Not just from the other side, because the other side does not want us to be harmed. So if you ever had a discussion with a person and somebody crossed over, I think it's time that we take a look into our own voices inside of our head. And I think it's pretty sad when you know a mood of a person and you just look at that person, you know their mood. It's you're looking at yourself in the mirror. I think it's time all Americans have to just sit back to say, I'm going to make things happen for other people now. When you go to the other side, one time when I appeared on channel 9, I was there and this woman called me and she said, and I'm going back 30 years. And she said, this is your life. This is your future. And I said, well, I hope it is, but I was only on here one time already. Well, the TV station called me up again. They said, we want you on again as a regular. I was on the next week and on the next week. And this same woman called me. Well, we became really good friends. Her name was Judy. We became really good friends on the phone. I only regret one thing, because years later, I was still talking to her now. Every week I talked to this woman because I said, how did you know? But she knew. And when this happened, I got word she was in the hospital and she was dying. And I still never met the woman. So I asked a neighbor and I said, can we drive to New York? I need to see this woman. She's in the hospital. I've never met her. Well, that night, the woman passed away. I received a call from her daughter that she passed away. And it saddened me because I never met this woman personally. I talked to her. We were phone buddies. And that night, I had a dream. And that night, the dream was a phone, a regular phone, her calling me by saying, hi, Pearl, it's Judy. And this is no lie. This is what she said. She said, I just want to tell you, the world on the other side is exactly what you do on this side. When you're good, you get good over here. And that's how it works on the other side. So continue doing your work. Continue doing good work for the people, because it'll show when you get to the other side. And then she showed her face in the dream. I hung up. I called up her daughter because when I woke up, I was still nervous. And I called her daughter. I said, you have to send me a picture of your mom. Well, when she did, I freaked out because it was the same woman in the dream. So she came to me from, I believe, the other side. And she gave me a message what the other side was like. And she said, whatever you do on this side will project what's going to happen to you on the other side. And I've been living to that motto every day because Judy knew what that other side was. And she gave me the final message. So if you get messages, if you get dreams, don't just wake up to say, it's just a dream. It's not. So tonight's show, I think it was meant to be too. Or maybe it's meant to be with the weather, that the guest I had did not show up. Because I wanted to talk about this subject for a long, long time. But I never wanted to talk about it myself. I always wanted to have somebody else talk to you about it. And now I got the opportunity. And I do believe it's just like that rock salt I got from the snow. I got the opportunity to tell you like it is. Next week, we have a great show next week. The show next week is going to be how foreigners can't stand what the United States people are doing. They think we're lazy. Well, and then the following week is that special show with Trudy Haynes. I want to thank everybody. As I said, the show must go on. And this show, I keep on so you can get educated. We were on last Halloween. We were on in the dark. And we got a snowstorm coming here. But the show must go on. And no matter what, rain, snow, storm, I'm like the post office. It's going to come on, the Pearl Polto Show. I want to thank everybody for tuning into this. If you think you're psychic, pass the word around to your friends and tell them to watch this show. And maybe you are the psychic person of the next world. This is Pearl Polto, as always, making the most of your credit, giving credit where credit's due. See you next week.
Interest rates are